Awesome, thanks. My name is Joe Garriger, also Literary Joe, and my outlet is Comic Book Movie as well as Tunado.com. I'm super excited to speak with you, Tom. I have a bevy of questions for you, so I'm going to go ahead and dive right
Yeah,
in.
I just got to say, Joe, I love your shirt.
Oh, thank you.
In
Yeah,
fact, if you've seen the movie, the grandparents wear those shirts with flamingos on them, and
I
it
was
looks like
watching
right
it
out of
this
the movie.
morning. I was watching it this morning, and I was like, "What a coincidence!" But if I have
It's
any good shirts, it's because my fiance got them. I have no taste. But
no,
what
it's
a
great. They're unexplained in the movie, but we had this whole bit about them living in Boca Raton, Florida. That's why they're wearing the tropical shirts and things like that. And but we ended up cutting that dialogue out of the movie, so it's kind of a bit unexplained in the film.
what a fun little Easter egg to accidentally throw myself into finding. But let's talk about Boss Baby. Let's talk about this movie. First thing I wanted to ask you is you were involved in the first one, but from what I can tell with my research is it was in a directorial standpoint, and in this one you also wrote the script as well, correct?
Well, Michael McCullers is my partner in this, and we developed the first movie as well. You know,
Okay.
um, and so story is always the important part, and I think in animation that's our process. So a script is never handed to me on any movie as much as develop it with the writer. And what's great about working with Mike McCullers is I was always a big fan of him since Austin Powers movies, where he worked on those, and we had an opportunity to be together. I was, develop or working on Madagascar 3, but we were developing the story for Boss Baby, and and we both agreed it'd be fun to tell the sibling rivalry story. And Michael had an idea about you know, uh, this company Baby Corps where puppies and babies were at war for competing for love, and so we just mind melded in a way, and kind of develop the the story that way in the script, and that was our process on this movie too. And we thought like, well, you know, the first movie was a standalone movie. That was our intention, and then they were developing this series, and we're like, well, I don't want to go and tell this further stories of them as kids because that's what the series is doing. And then and just remember at the end of the first movie, it was Tim as a father telling his daughter about how he and his brother got together, and there was this little baby in the maternity ward that winked at the camera in a suit, and it wasn't to set up a sequel as much as it was to tell kids, oh, Baby Core is real. And so I was talking to Michael, we're like, well, let's just pick it up 25 years later with them as adults, and to see what Tim is like as an adult and what Boss Baby has grown up to be, this successful hedge fund manager. And Tim's a stay-at-home father, and we get to meet their family. And where the first movie was very boy-centric, we can use this little baby Tina to have a strong female voice. And just thought, oh, it'd be fun instead of being bossier and Boss Baby to actually be more of a millennial voice or Gen Z voice who's more in touch with their feelings and embraces teamwork more than being the madman style that Boss Baby is, who's out for himself and promotion and that sort of thing. And so we just started playing around with these themes, and I read this article about how much academic pressure we're putting on kids in school, and it's almost like going to preschool is like auditioning for college. And so we thought like, well, let's have this funky weird school, where the subject matter is all over the place, from auto shop to particle physics, because part of what we want to touch upon was that childhood is so precious, and and kids are growing up so fast these days that we need to celebrate that and hold on to it as long as possible, because childhood you can never go back to, in a way. So we just started playing around with different ideas and themes, and how parents are so addicted to their phones and watch their kids grow up through their technology that they might be missing out on their kids' childhood as well. And we thought, oh, that'd be a great Achilles heel for the villain to kind of exploit,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
play against the parents in a way.
I love how in-depth and how layered that explanation is, and that makes me wonder was there initially any like pushback when you guys had this idea of, okay, we're going to do Boss Baby as adults? Was it like, oh, that's kind of a different direction, but then you're like, oh, but listen, we're going to still have a baby, we're going to do this, and just lay it out like that? Was it entirely that layered when you initially brought that project together, or is that something that evolved to the point where you're describing it now after, the process kind of became collaborative?
I think before, you pitch the idea to the studio, I think what's fun and what Michael McCullers and I, we just sit down, and it's the rule of improv is yes and what if, you know what I mean? And like, it's like, well, if they are adults, how do we get them back to becoming the characters you remember from the first movie? And I just remember, well, we had this formula that turned Francis, the villain in the first movie, back into a baby. It'd be great if Baby Core then used that and had this downsizing formula that could turn them back into adults. And we just thought, and I think what sold the movie for not only us in the studio was the idea of, these two adults have to return to their childhood to relive their childhood to become better adults.
Right. And reconcile.
And wouldn't it be fun if Tim as a father could see his daughter in school and kind of learn more about her, not as a parent, but as her weird friend from school? And I think they were kind of comedic ideas, not unlike Back to the Future or anything like that the studio really liked and we really liked playing, and it was fun to think of Tim as, an adult now, but he still, holds on to his childhood. And it felt like a real strong arc to have him, learn to become a better parent through his daughter at school, And so I think once we started exploring those ideas, it felt like, well, this is the direction we have to go in, in a way.
So you've been in this business for decades, but you landed at this place with Boss Baby, and it is so far different than animating something like Ren and Stimpy. So I was curious if you could give me like a short trajectory of how you went from the animation world to making, these big movies yourself in such a completely different tone.
I think the approach for me, in particular, having grown up in the 70s as a kid and seeing a lot of animated movies on the big screen before VHS or DVD, it made a huge impact on my life because I just remember falling in love with animation because it transported you into a world of art, And to me, it's always trying to get the computer now to do what we used to be able to do so easily with traditional animation. And whether it was the Disney movies or, Warner Brothers, Bugs Bunny and that sort of thing, I always loved animation, not only for the comedy of it, but just that it immerses you into a world of art. So these fantasy sequences that are in the Boss Baby movies harken back to those days of what's opera doc or Fantasia that bring you back to what animation can do that live action can't, And so those are the moments that are really fun to play with. And, there's a musical number that was very special where they go into Tabitha's imagination. And there's a lot of cues from early animation, ink and paint animation that we were able to do. And so it's getting the best of both worlds, in a way. And what I loved about growing up with Bugs Bunny is my dad would laugh at certain jokes. I would laugh at the slapstick humor, but we'd laugh together and it was kind of a bonding experience. So it's always to have that with families when they watch a Boss Baby movie that, even though they might be laughing at different things, they can still enjoy it as a family,
And I think you found your groove with DreamWorks and getting that generational gap, especially like Madagascar. It's like once you hit Madagascar, and you said that's when you first teamed up with Mark, right?
With
Michael, I'm sorry.
Oh no, Madagascar. Eric Darnell and I were writing partners and directing partners through all those movies. And what's great about animation is workshopping a play. It's not like live action where you write a script, get it greenlit, and then just shoot the script. It's like you're constantly evolving and creating characters. And, like the penguins in Madagascar were invented along the way, and then they became more of a central part. Tina, early on, baby Tina was a very small part. But as we got Amy Sedaris in, we just realized not only is she a strong female voice, but she's actually, central to this whole story about bringing the brothers back together. So I would equate it to workshopping a play as opposed to greenlighting a regular script. So you're always trying to improve the story you have and add to it. And what's great about animation in our process is you can throw out what doesn't work and take what does work and expand on it.
Yeah, and it's funny that you had mentioned like these smaller characters that you don't really expect or have plans for, and then they burgeon out. And you voice Skipper, which is like I feel like at the beginning was the plan to just be like that, just like a little funny gag character. Did you have any idea of that was going to become one of the most beloved penguins and spin out into a lead?
You never know. You just like, I think it was another case of I thought it'd be funny. Originally, the crates for the zoo characters were washed overboard in a storm, and just thought, oh, it'd be great if these penguins if they're getting shipped to Africa, they would revolt and break out and turn the ship around. The crates would fall overboard. And it was a one-note idea. And, people started going, well, who are these penguins? And why are they in the movie? And then Eric and I got together and created a whole backstory and threaded them through the movie, And I think for me, I wanted Robert Stack to voice the skipper, but since I had storyboarded him, and I would step in as the voice, which we call Scratch. And it just kind of stuck. But what it taught me was to be a better director in the sense that when you're behind a microphone, there are no sets, costumes, or other actors to really play off of. And so context and the type of direction you need is really key, which is usually what's going on in the scene. Where are you in the movie? And so by doing the voice, it taught me to walk a mile in the actor's shoes. And I think it helped me in directing these actors of what I liked about it, and what I needed. And so hopefully I can give the actors what they need as well.
That's an incredible answer. I didn't expect that to come from that question. You're killing it. So I know we're running out of time. I wanted to make sure that you had a chance to mention anything about Boss Baby that people don't ask. Anything about this new movie that you'd like to share that, people just keep asking you the same questions. What is it that you want to say?
I think what's fun is I always love comedies because the reward is listening to the laughter, in the theater and that sort of thing. But I think what I've learned through the Madagascar movies or Megamind or Boss Baby movies is laughter is a doorway to the heart. And, you don't want to be, teach people morals or ethics or any way is to evoke something in them that touches them in a way. And, some of these, you put personal moments from your life into these movies and you hope it resonates with audiences. And I think one of them is through experiences. Life is short and family is important. And sometimes you can drift off and because you forget to pick up the phone or, apologize for some stupid argument. You don't even remember what it was. And if anything, the hope is like for people to leave the theater and go, you know what, I should call my aunt or call my grandmother or call my brother I haven't talked to in years, just because it's never too late to have a second chance with family to reconcile,
Yeah, that's a perfect way to end. And I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me.
Oh, thank you, Joe.
I hope you continue to stay safe. I feel honored to have the chance to talk with you. Make sure you wear a mask and keep yourself as safe as possible. And everyone else, thank you so much for letting me be part of this. I will leave the room and let you guys go forward.
Thank you, Joe. It was a pleasure talking to you. It really was.
Hey, you too, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah.